Alex Parker knew the weight of silence. He'd mastered it in Navy SEAL missions across Afghanistan, where stealth meant survival and a single misstep could cost lives. He'd perfected it during his military service under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, where his identity remained hidden behind medals and commendations, achievements shadowed by the constant fear of discovery. Now, as one of Portland's few openly gay police officers, that silence felt like chains he'd finally broken, though the echoes of restraint still followed him through the precinct hallways. The spring air carried tension as Alex patrolled near Roosevelt High School. 3 months since the downtown gay bar attack that had left 5 injured and a community terrified. And Portland still simmered with protests demanding justice and accountability. Signs declaring "Protect LGBTQ Lives" stood alongside others questioning who polices the police. The department faced intense scrutiny over their handling of hate crime investigations caught between activists demanding faster action and conservative voices claiming special treatment for certain communities. Alex adjusted his uniform, the small rainbow pin on his watch catching afternoon sunlight. Not department approved, technically, but Sergeant Maria Rodriguez had pretended not to notice. She'd been his rock since academy days, one of the few who judged him by his actions rather than his orientation. "Just be the good cop I know you are," she'd told him after last week's community meeting went sideways, with LGBT activists and police supporters shouting over each other. "You're bridging worlds that desperately need connecting." Easy to say, harder when both those worlds viewed him with suspicion. To fellow officers, he was the diversity hire who'd gotten through on quotas rather than qualifications, despite his distinguished military record. To the LGBT community, he was a traitor in uniform, enforcing laws in a system they viewed as inherently biased. Some days, Alex questioned if one person could really change an entrenched system, or if he was merely providing cover for the department to claim progress. The crimson Mustang blasted through the school zone at 52 mph, sending crossing guards trembling with frantic whistleblows. Students jumped back from the crosswalk as the sports car squealed around the corner, the driver's arrogant disregard for safety evident in the roaring engine and reckless speed. Alex hit the lights, adrenaline surging as the radar gun confirmed the speed more than triple the 15 mph limit during the busiest time of day, when children were most vulnerable. The Mustang finally pulled over after 3 blocks, reluctantly yielding to authority with a dramatic tire screech. As Alex approached, he mentally rehearsed procedure, professional demeanor, clear communication, documentation of all violations, standard protocol. Though nothing about this year had felt standard for Portland or for Alex, he was unaware that this routine traffic stop would soon test everything he believed about justice, courage, and the true meaning of protection. Through the tinted window, Alex glimpsed an arrogant smirk on a young face accustomed to getting its way. The driver's eyes narrowed at Alex's uniform, then flickered with recognition and distaste at the tiny rainbow pin on his watch. Something shifted in his expression, contempt replacing mere annoyance as prejudice revealed itself in the curl of his lip. This wouldn't be just another ticket. For Alex Parker, this moment would become the dividing line between who he had been and who he chose to be. Sometimes courage isn't found on battlefields facing enemy fire, but in ordinary moments when principles face pressure, when doing what's right conflicts with doing what's easy. In those moments, character reveals itself not in dramatic declarations, but in the quiet resolve to stand firm. If this story resonates with you, follow Heart Stories for more powerful tales that remind us that standing for truth isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just standing firm when the world expects you to step aside. License and registration, please. Alex kept his voice professional and steady, despite the Ferrari's engine still ticking hot, a mockery of how quickly its driver had tried to escape after nearly hitting a group of freshman students in the crosswalk. The scene replayed in his mind of the crossing guard's panicked face. Textbooks scattered across pavement, the Mustang's tires squealing around the corner. The young man behind the wheel gave a dismissive glance, as if being stopped was beneath his dignity. His hand draped casually over the leather steering wheel, a college ring glinting on his finger. "Do you know who my father is?" Blonde hair perfectly styled, designer sunglasses pushed atop his head, entitlement radiating like heat from the vehicle's polished hood. "I don't, sir, but I do know you were driving 52 miles per hour in a 15-mile school zone with children present." Alex replied, noting the driver's bloodshot eyes and the faint smell of alcohol. Not enough for a DUI, perhaps, but concerning nonetheless for someone behind the wheel of what was essentially a deadly weapon when mishandled. The driver rolled his eyes. "Kids should watch where they're going. That's what crossing guards are for, right? To keep the little brats in line." Alex felt his jaw tighten, but maintained his professional demeanor. The casual disregard for others' safety struck a nerve, reminding him of commanders who had treated certain lives as more expendable than others. "License and registration, please," he repeated, unwavering, reluctantly. The driver reached for the glove compartment, movements deliberately slow, as if to emphasize the inconvenience. "James Reynolds is my father, Captain James Reynolds. He's about to be the next chief of police, so you might want to reconsider writing any tickets." A registration slip appeared, but no license followed. "I left my wallet at home. Honest mistake." As the driver shuffled documents, a student ID card slipped out onto the pristine leather seat. Alex caught the Harvard Law School logo and the name Lucas Reynolds before the young man snatched it back, stuffing it into his pocket. The irony wasn't lost on Alex, a law student with such flagrant disregard for the laws he was studying to uphold or prosecute. Alex examined the registration carefully. "This vehicle belongs to Captain Reynolds. Your name is Lucas Reynolds, correct?" Lucas leaned forward, suddenly noticing the small rainbow pin on Alex's watch, a subtle symbol of identity that seemed to trigger something visceral in him. His expression hardened, lip curling slightly. "You're one of those diversity hires. Aren't you a cop fairy?" He practically spat the words. "My dad says the department's gone downhill since they started letting people like you in. Says half of you couldn't pass the physical tests if they hadn't lowered the standards." Alex's jaw tightened, memories flashing of similar slurs whispered in military barracks, words designed to diminish, to other, to place him outside the brotherhood. Yet his voice remained steady, professional. "Mr. Reynolds, you were driving without a license at dangerous speeds in a school zone. I need to issue citations for these violations." Lucas's phone was already at his ear, speed dialing with the confidence of someone who had escaped consequences his entire life. "Dad, yeah, I got pulled over near Roosevelt. Some gay cop is harassing me." His voice rose theatrically, playing to an imaginary audience. "No, I didn't do anything wrong." "He's wearing a rainbow pin on his uniform?" "Yeah, I think he's targeting me because of who you are." From the corner of his eye, Alex noticed a woman across the street, phone raised, recording the interaction. The modern reality of policing public documentation had become both shield and spotlight for officers like him, sometimes revealing misconduct, other times providing evidence when false accusations flew. "He wants to arrest me, Dad," Lucas continued, voice transitioning from annoyed to theatrical now, playing to the growing audience of students who had paused on their way home, curious about the police lights and commotion. "Can you come, like, right now before this gets out of hand?" Alex felt a familiar tightness in his chest, the same sensation he'd experienced during high-stakes missions when parameters suddenly changed. Training took over. He focused on procedure, on the facts, on the children who could have been seriously hurt by this young man's reckless behavior. Portland was watching. The department was watching. And somewhere inside, that young sailor who'd hidden his true self for years was watching too. In a world that had repeatedly demanded he conform, compromise, or conceal, Alex had promised himself that he'd never again choose silence over truth or comfort over integrity. Behind his badge, a decision crystallized. This moment wasn't just about a traffic violation, it was about whether justice applied equally to everyone, regardless of power, privilege, or who they called in their moment of accountability. Captain James Reynolds arrived within minutes, his unmarked police vehicle cutting through traffic with practiced authority. The silver SUV's tinted windows and government plates announced his status before he even stepped out. He approached with the casual confidence of someone accustomed to authority. Gold badge gleaming against his civilian clothes, an expensive charcoal suit that spoke of career advancement and political ambitions. His presence transformed the sidewalk into an unofficial courtroom, one where he expected to serve as both judge and jury. "Officer Parker," he said, voice deceptively pleasant, though his eyes were cold with calculation. His gaze methodically assessed Alex, traveling from his polished badge to his regulation haircut, lingering briefly on the rainbow pin with poorly disguised distaste. "My son tells me there's been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding, sir. Mr. Reynolds was driving 52 miles per hour in a school zone, without a license in his possession. I've explained the violations and am processing the citations." Alex kept his tone respectful but firm, aware of the gathering audience of students and parents. Captain Reynolds placed a heavy hand on Alex's shoulder, steering him slightly away from the gathering spectators. His cologne, expensive and overwhelming, created an intimate bubble of forced camaraderie. "Look, Parker, we all know how this works." The boy was rushing to an important study group. "Harvard Law doesn't tolerate tardiness." His voice lowered conspiratorially. "Surely we can show some professional courtesy here. Officer to officer." The words hung between them, a test wrapped in tradition, an initiation into the unspoken rules. The wink and nod system that had protected officers' family members from tickets for generations. The unspoken rule of law enforcement: take care of our own. "Sir, with respect, professional courtesy doesn't extend to endangering children's lives." Several students had to jump back from the crosswalk. Alex maintained eye contact, refusing to be intimidated by rank or in reputation. The captain's expression hardened, the veneer of friendliness evaporating like morning dew under harsh sun. "Officer Parker, I understand you came to us through the Diversity Initiative program." The emphasis made the implication clear. Alex's position was viewed as charity rather than merit, regardless of his exemplary military service or academy performance. "I'm also aware of your difficulties with Officer Sanderson regarding locker room arrangements." Alex felt his throat tighten. The difficulties had been Sanderson's homophobic harassment slurs written in shaving cream on his locker, uniform items soaked in urine, anonymous threats left on his windshield. He had formally reported the incidents, despite pressure to handle it internally or toughen up. The investigation remained conveniently unresolved, lost in bureaucratic limbo. "You know, in my 30 years on the force, we understood the importance of unity," Reynolds continued, voice lowered but intensity heightened. "The Blue family looks after its own. It would be unfortunate if your annual review reflected an inability to work within the team structure." The threat was thinly veiled, hanging in the air between them like smoke. Alex's mind flashed to his military days, the years spent hiding his orientation, the fear of discovery that had shadowed every achievement, every medal, every commendation. He joined the police force with a promise to himself to serve with integrity, to never again compromise his principles for acceptance. Lucas watched from the Mustang, smirking at what he clearly expected would be his imminent release in another lesson in how the rules bent for certain people. More students had gathered, phones recording what had become a small spectacle. Among them, Alex noticed a teenage boy with a small rainbow bracelet, watching intently, as if the outcome of this confrontation might answer some vital question about his own future. "Captain Reynolds, I took an oath to uphold the law equally for everyone," Alex said quietly. "That includes your son. I'm not asking you to break the law, Parker. I'm asking for discretion, something you seem to advertise lacking." Reynolds nodded toward Alex's pin with a meaningful look. "Remember where your real loyalties should lie. This is your Blue family." He leaned closer, lowering his voice further. "You've already got 2 strikes against you with some of the old guard. Don't make it harder on yourself." The words hung in the air, a reminder of every institution that had asked Alex to choose between authenticity and acceptance, between belonging and integrity, from military barracks to police locker rooms. The message had remained consistent: conform or be cast out. In that moment, the choice became crystal clear, as transparent as the frightened faces of the students Lucas had nearly hit, as evident as the young teen watching this encounter unfold with hope or despair hanging in the balance. Alex thought of Sergeant Rodriguez, who had pulled him aside after he'd first reported the locker room harassment. "This job will test you," she'd said, "not just physically, but morally. The hardest moments won't be when you're facing danger, but when you're facing yourself in the mirror afterward." Those words resonated now as Captain Reynolds waited expectantly, hands still resting on Alex's shoulder like a physical manifestation of the system's pressure to comply. "With all due respect, sir." Alex gently removed Captain Reynolds' hand from his shoulder, stepping back to reclaim his personal space. "My loyalty is to justice, not to special treatment. Your son endangered lives today." The captain's expression darkened, friendly pretense abandoned entirely. His eyes narrowed, voice dropping to a threatening whisper. "You're making a serious mistake, Parker. One you'll regret when promotion boards meet next month." Alex maintained steady eye contact, refusing to be intimidated. "I don't believe I am, sir. I'm doing my job according to department policy and ethical standards." By now, the scene had attracted a substantial crowd. Students from Roosevelt High formed a semicircle, many live streaming the confrontation on social media platforms where it would soon spread beyond their small audience to the wider Portland community. Among them stood teachers and parents, their presence adding weight to an already charged atmosphere. A journalism teacher had her professional camera out, documenting with practiced precision, "Your probationary period isn't over." "Officer Parker," Reynolds lowered his voice further, though his intensity only increased. "One word from me about your inability to understand departmental culture, and your evaluation will ensure you never advance beyond traffic duty. Is that really the hill you want to die on? A simple courtesy to a fellow officer's son?" Alex felt a familiar pressure constricting his chest, the same he'd experienced in the military, when superiors made it clear that his sexuality would become an issue if he didn't play along with the established order. He'd spent those years censoring himself, monitoring every word and gesture for fear of discovery. He'd sworn never to live under that shadow again, regardless of the cost. "If you continue this conversation, Captain, I'll need to document it in my official report to Chief Harrison." Alex kept his tone respectful but firm, aware that de-escalation techniques applied to fellow officers as well as civilians. The Civilian Oversight Committee has been particularly interested in cases involving potential abuse of power following the Phillips incident last year. Reynolds' face flushed crimson, a vein visibly pulsing at his temple. "Are you threatening me, officer?" "No, sir. I'm following procedure as outlined in the updated ethics guidelines." Alex deliberately referenced the reforms implemented after the previous year's scandal, when another captain had buried evidence in his nephew's Dash 8 case. From the car, Lucas called out, impatience overriding caution. "Dad, just get this over with. Tell him who's boss. Don't you sign his performance reviews." The comment hung in the air, revealing more than Lucas likely intended about how the Reynolds family viewed police authority, not as responsibility, but as leverage. Alex turned back toward his patrol car. "I need to complete the citation process." "Sir, your son was driving without a license at dangerous speeds in a school zone. These aren't minor infractions." "Parker," Captain Reynolds grabbed Alex's arm, fingers digging in with surprising strength. "This stops now. I'm ordering you to exercise discretion and let my son go with a warning. That's a direct order from a superior officer." The crowd had grown quieter, tension building like an approaching storm. Phones captured every word, every gesture. Alex noticed the young teen with the rainbow bracelet watching intently, as if the outcome would answer some vital personal question about whether people like them could expect fair treatment from authorities. In that moment, Alex thought of his own journey of hiding who he was in the military, of finally coming out only to face new barriers in law enforcement, of every time he'd been told explicitly or implicitly that his acceptance depended on conformity. He thought of younger officers watching this encounter, learning what the department truly valued. "Captain Reynolds," Alex said, loud enough for nearby phones to capture clearly, "are you ordering me to disregard department policy because the suspect is your son?" The directness of the question created a sudden silence. Even the high school students seemed to hold their breath. Reynolds released his grip, suddenly aware of the recording devices and potential witnesses. His tactical awareness kicked in, calculation replacing raw anger in his expression. "I'm suggesting you use better judgment. Officer, consider the bigger picture. My judgment tells me that driving triple the speed limit in a school zone warrants proper citation, regardless of who the driver's father might be." Alex reached for his radio, movements deliberate. "If you disagree with my assessment, I'd be happy to discuss this matter directly with Chief Harrison. She's been very clear about our department's commitment to equal enforcement since the consent decree." The mention of the federal consent decree implemented after previous instances of discriminatory policing landed like a precision strike. As Alex began the call, something shifted in Reynolds' demeanor. The captain stepped back, calculation replacing anger as he recognized the changing dynamics. "That won't be necessary," he said stiffly. "Process the citation." Alex nodded, returning to the patrol car where Lucas sat fuming, privilege momentarily checked by accountability. In that moment, he realized the greatest acts of courage weren't always dramatic stands against obvious evil, but quiet refusals to bend principles for convenience or comfort, to sacrifice integrity for acceptance. For the students watching, especially those who felt powerless in systems stacked against them, this ordinary moment of integrity might speak louder than any protest march or social media campaign. It demonstrated that within imperfect institutions, individual choices still mattered. That doing the right thing wasn't about grand gestures, but about countless small decisions to uphold fairness, even when it would be easier to look the other way. 2 weeks after the Reynolds incident, Alex stood before a classroom of police academy recruits, 30 fresh faces representing Portland's future law enforcement. The dashcam footage of his encounter with Captain Reynolds and Lucas had gone viral, transforming a routine traffic stop into a departmental reckoning that sparked conversations about accountability across the country. Chief Harrison, an imposing woman whose reforms had met resistance from old guard officers like Reynolds, placed her hand on the podium. "Officer Parker demonstrated what we truly mean by protect and serve, not protecting the powerful from consequences, but serving justice equally, regardless of connections." She nodded toward Alex with genuine respect. "That's the standard we expect from every officer wearing this badge." The aftermath had been both swift and surprising. Lucas Reynolds' Harvard Law School had initiated an ethics review of his conduct after the video surfaced, questioning whether someone with such disregard for law and equality belonged in their program. More surprisingly, he'd reached out to Alex through official channels, requesting to perform his community service hours with the department's LGBT liaison office, a choice that suggested the encounter had triggered genuine reflection rather than merely strategic image repair. Captain Reynolds faced a 30-day suspension and mandatory diversity training. The incident had sparked department-wide policy reviews regarding nepotism, accountability, and the informal professional courtesy system that had operated in shadows for generations. Reynolds had requested a private meeting with Alex not for reconciliation, but for something more profound understanding. The conversation had been uncomfortable but necessary, opening doors neither man had expected to walk through. As Alex faced the academy recruits, he recognized his responsibility extended beyond this moment. The department had made him part of their training program not as a token, but as an example of principled policing in difficult circumstances. "The hardest person to police is yourself," he told them, voice carrying to the back row. "Your integrity isn't tested when everyone's watching, but in those quiet moments when bending rules seems easier than standing firm." when a fellow officer suggests looking the other way, when processing paperwork properly means more work, when doing the right thing might cost you friendships or advancement. The department had invited him to help restructure their diversity training program, moving beyond superficial workshops to meaningful structural change. Sergeant Rodriguez beamed from the back row, having nominated Alex for the commendation now pinned to his uniform. Her mentorship had helped him navigate the complex aftermath of standing his ground. "This badge doesn't represent power," Alex concluded, touching the shield over his heart. "It represents responsibility to protect everyone equally, regardless of who they are, where they come from, or who they love. True courage in this job isn't facing physical danger, though we all must be prepared for that. True courage is facing moral challenges with the same resolve." Outside the academy, Portland continued its complicated dance of progress and resistance. The LGBT Community Center had invited Alex to speak, beginning the slow healing of the rift between law enforcement and marginalized communities. Change wouldn't come from one incident or one officer, but from countless small moments of principle over privilege, of courage over comfort, of integrity over expedience. For Alex Parker, the journey from hiding his identity to becoming an example of integrity had been paved with difficult choices and painful confrontations, both internal and external. Yet each choice had led him closer to becoming the officer and the man he had always aspired to be. His small rainbow pin no longer felt like a statement of defiance, but a reminder of wholeness, of the strength that comes from bringing one's complete self to each challenge. What moment in your life required you to stand firm when compromise seemed easier? How did that decision shape who you are today? When have you witnessed someone choose integrity over popularity or advancement? For more powerful tales that remind us how ordinary courage creates extraordinary change. Follow heart stories, because silence isn't weakness when it finally finds its voice. And sometimes the quietest stands make the loudest difference.